Zoom announces a new feature called Focus Mode, which will help you reduce distractions in your Zoom call. WhatsApp officially announces transfer facility of chat history between Android and Apple devices. Facebook Messenger rolls out end-to-end encryption for voice and video calls. All this and much more coming up in this week's edition of the Connected Church News. Welcome, I am Natchi Lazarus, and this is the show that brings you the top 5 digital and social media news each week in just 5 minutes. Let's get started. Our first big news of this week is from Facebook. Last week, Facebook released an important article about privacy enhancing technologies and how these technologies might be implemented in the future by Facebook to make advertising better, in spite of the privacy concerns that they have with organizations like Apple and Google starting to restrict data tracking. So I wanted to bring this to your notice because as a church and ministry leader, you need to understand this balance between privacy and the ability to reach people. Both are important. We all know our privacy is important, our congregation's privacy is important, our audience's privacy is important. But at the same time, it's also important for us to be able to reach the right audience for the ministry that we're doing, for the work that we're doing, for the gospel, and any other area in which we are working on, right? As non-profits, if you want to reach people, that is also important. So these two things need to be balanced, and this article is one of those articles that gives you an idea of the future of privacy. It talks about 3 technologies that Facebook might start using: secure multi-party computation, on-device learning, differential privacy. Don't worry about the technical terms. All it means is companies like Facebook and even Google with their privacy project that they recently released, they are all thinking about these two things and saying, how can we coexist with privacy and the ability to reach? Are you finding this 5-minute news video each week helpful? If so, I'm going to ask you to help us reach more church leaders and non-profit leaders like you by clicking the like button. That definitely is going to help us. I also want to ask you and remind you, if you've not done so already, to click our subscription button and also the bell notification so that you don't miss any weekly news video that we upload every Friday. Thanks so much. Now let's get back to our news site. Our next news is about WhatsApp. Last week at the Samsung's Unpacked event, WhatsApp made a big announcement that many people have been waiting for, which is the ability to transfer your WhatsApp chat history between Android and Apple devices. So platform shifting is a big deal, as many of you who are using WhatsApp know. It's something that we think about when we want to change our phones, right? Now they want to make it easy, and strategically they made this announcement at the Samsung event, which is basically Android's event. So first, the Android devices are going to get this ability to move to an Apple, and then they say eventually both ways are going to be possible, and this is all coming in the next few weeks. Our next news is about Zoom. Last week, Zoom brought an important feature into Zoom meetings, which is called Focus Mode, that is aimed at reducing distractions. This mode basically allows the participants and the co-host to see each other's video without seeing the video or screen share of other participants, so that students, for example, can just focus on what the teacher is saying and what the teacher wants them to see, instead of seeing everybody else and what others are doing and so on. And especially in a classroom setting or an event setting, this can be helpful because people are less distracted and they're focused on the content. Now, if you have been using Zoom, you know that this facility is already available in webinars, but this time Zoom is bringing it into meetings, regular meetings. And the important thing is they are bringing it into the free plan. Our next news item is about Messenger. Last week, Facebook Messenger team announced that they are bringing full end-to-end encryption, including video and voice calls. Earlier, they had end-to-end encryption inside Messenger for text messages, but now they're expanding it to voice and video calls as well. And the interesting thing is, this article also talks about the future plans that they have to integrate all the platforms into this whole end-to-end privacy encrypted environment. And they are talking about, for example, end-to-end encryption in Instagram DMs and so on. So something interesting happening within the Messenger section of Facebook. Our final news of this week is about social media channels and their new tools and policies related to children or kids. Last week we saw the top 4 social media channels release new policies related to children and also some new features. For example, Google talked about their family link feature, which we have talked about earlier in this news bulletin, and the new policies and updates that they are bringing to that feature. And YouTube talked about the new promotional guidelines and defaults that they are having for YouTube Kids and kids related content. And Facebook released a new guide for parents as children start going to school. In the next few weeks, children start going to school in certain countries, and Facebook has released a guide for that, guide for parents. And TikTok has released new features and prompts related to young users and teens. So it's interesting to see all these news about kids being released at the same week. So I'm going to give links to all of this in the show notes. I know some of you listening to me work in the non-profit space that help children. You're also in children's ministry as churches, so do have a look. Those are the top 5 news items I have for you this week. Do you have any questions related to any of the stories we talked about? Please leave them in the comment section and we will make sure we get back to you with the answers. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week with another set of news items. Until then, you stay connected and stay blessed. God bless you. Bye-bye.